In 1985, my grandfather at gunpoint was given two options. He could either hand his family over to the military or leave the country within 48 hours. El Salvador's civil war started 5 years earlier, with recruitment continuing between the Farabundo Martí National Liberation Front and the military-led government. Within the context of the Cold War, the United States had been supporting El Salvador. And my grandfather's connection to the military provided him the option to leave instead of being killed and losing his wife, 3 sons, and 3 daughters. This started my family's journey towards El Norte as we split apart and aspired for a safer life. My aunts and uncles paired up in twos with coyotes who acted as pseudo-parents. In speaking with my mom today about her journey here, she told me that at 5 years old, she was crying. She was crying because she did not want to leave her home country, and she didn't want to follow this fake mom to somewhere she's never been. Fortunately, my aunt was there and explained they had no other choice. Either they go with this coyote and trust they'll make it to the United States, or someone will come along and kidnap them. My aunts and uncles used these coyotes as a lifeline to survive, and they just hoped that eventually they would reunite. And through networking and traveling in complete darkness, my family reached the California border. They pleaded their case, and they were given amnesty to stay. These illegal immigrants reached El Norte. And while the conflict is historically different, we share a lot of sentiments with other refugees who have shaped the United States. We all would like to protect our family and thrive while being here. This dehumanization is a methodology to punish those who are only trying to survive. And I'm here to talk to you today about the kids, families, and just women who are trying to come to the United States and how we dehumanize them in the news, policies, and discourse on immigration. Understanding how my family is here today, I would like to help promote other solutions to help undocumented immigrants improve their quality of life. Now, a fundamental question being asked around the country is, what are we going to do with all these undocumented immigrants, these illegals and aliens running across our borders, stealing our jobs, destroying our communities? If we just build a wall, then streets would get safer, jobs would come back. It's that simple. This treatment is nothing new. Consider the historical treatment of Native Americans and African Americans. During the 19th century, Native Americans were forced westward on the Trail of Tears, while millions of freed slaves endured Jim Crow laws up until 1965. And now, in 2019, the discourse has shifted to focus on deporting undocumented immigrants. And as I said earlier, this is a methodology to punish those who are only trying to survive. Consider the kids who are traveling without parent supervision and who are likely to experience human trafficking or kidnapping. Amnesty International highlighted as many as 20,000 migrants are kidnapped every year. 20,000. This is a little greater than the population of Potsdam. And this can raise criminal gangs up to $50 million every year, according to the Mexican National Human Rights Commission. The illusion of achieving this American dream is what motivates people to come here. They have no idea what's in the United States besides what people see online or what they hear from their friends. They just know it could be safer than the environment they have back home. And unfortunately, the American response to this is just to paint everyone as an illegal trying to destroy our country. Now, I would like to talk to you about the policies that have dehumanized migrants from 1986 to 2010. The first, Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1986, led politicians to blame economic constraints on illegal immigrants, saying that we're stealing jobs, and so we must implement sanctions on these employers. But the farmers preferred these undocumented immigrants because no one else was lining up to work 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. on their farm. And we continue to hear this in today's politics on immigration. This practice of saying, no, we can't have them here because if they are, they're going to destroy our economy. This rhetoric has continued since the 1980s. Second, the Anti-Terrorism, Border Protection, and Illegal Immigration Reform Act of 2005 shifted the discourse to focus on potential terrorists coming to the United States. If my mom came over in 2005, she would be labeled as a terrorist or potential terrorist. This is in the light of having 9/11 happen 4 years earlier. Americans were scared. We were told to buy guns and protect ourselves because we didn't know what the future would have. And with this bill, we increased border security through drones, infrastructure, personnel, and we just further alienated a population that's only just trying to survive here in the United States. The third policy that I'd like to look at is Arizona's SB 1070. This encouraged racial profiling for undocumented immigrants, having authorities detain anyone who they deemed being here illegally. If I was walking in Arizona in 2010 without my passport or my wallet, including my ID, someone who was an authority could ask, "Show me your papers." If I didn't have my papers, they would just take me until I could prove that I was here legally. And the former governor, Jane Brewer, to paraphrase what she said to John King on a CNN interview, was that it is illegal to come into Arizona, but it's not being enforced. And so it would give people a pause before entering our country. And although she was trying to promote stability, it only divided communities because some people could not tell who was actually a threat and who to trust. Illegals couldn't go towards authorities because authorities would say, "I don't know whether or not to arrest you or help you." In reflecting on these policies, I've seen the impact within my home state of Vermont. One of my friends was a lot smarter than me, and when it came time to graduation, she was unable to attend. Imagine studying, turning in your homework assignments, envisioning yourself changing the world, like many of you are, but you can't even attend your graduation due to your citizenship status. We are limiting our potential as a country by saying, "No, you can't pursue a higher education because you're not supposed to be here." Across this country, we have thousands of students in this position. And now I would like to propose 2 solutions to help improve the quality of life for undocumented immigrants. The first is an inclusive approach seen in sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities have increased the communication between undocumented immigrants and authorities. They've also further encouraged undocumented immigrants to attend higher education institutions. Look at NYU, for example. Recently, NYU has admitted the highest percentage of Latinx students in the school's history. And while we're also increasing communication and allowing undocumented immigrants to attend universities, we should also be educating ourselves on why they're coming here. As I said earlier in the beginning of this speech, the United States was supporting El Salvador when my family had to leave. The United States was supporting the government that told my grandfather, you have two options. And across the Americas, Central, South, Caribbean, the United States has had an influence on their development. And the more that we educate ourselves on this, the more we will see why undocumented immigrants are coming here. And secondly, I would like to increase regulation and benefits for lower paying jobs, simply because if you look at the undocumented immigrants working in dairy and construction, a lot of them are not protected. They'll work, as I said, 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., and they won't be able to communicate with anyone outside of their limited employment opportunity. If we take a second to educate ourselves and stop the usage of the words alien and illegal, we will progress as a society and slowly stop dehumanizing these undocumented immigrants. Thank you.